Hey, good morning. This is our Monday morning training, and today is Monday, August 12th. Kind of feel like we're just kind of getting back in the swing of things here. Um, been doing some trainings. For those of you who might not even have known, some of them were pre-recorded. So still been doing them every week, but I know over the summertime, we've had a lot going on. So it's been kind of difficult to get on here every single week, but still been trying to provide as much content as we can to help agents out there that I know need it. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about overcoming objections. Last week, I just had one of those weeks where I sat with a lot of people and just a lot of pushback. I had to work through a lot of objections. Sometimes they work. Sometimes I just had to move on to the next. And I think that's part of it too, Chris. I think sometimes we could say anything we want. We could have it down perfectly, and we could hear the objection, and we could come right back with whatever we're going to teach agents today, and it's still not going to work. But that's just kind of part of the business. These are tools that will help you. It's not like 100% guaranteed always going to work sort of thing. But like I said, it's a tool that will help, that I think will help you to generate more business, because when you know these objections and you have them in your back pocket, it's going to be a lot easier when those objections arise. So how are you doing this morning, Chris?
I'm excited to kind of ease out of summer and ease back into a fall routine. It's kind of like that in between period, vacations are sort of in the background, future sort of ahead. But I'm just excited to be back in the seat with you and talk about objections. Because, like you said, sometimes there's nothing you're going to say that's going to make a difference. And sometimes just having something to say helps you capture that movable middle where there's a lot of profit to be made in final expense. And sometimes you just got to learn when to cut and run. Like there's nothing you can do. Get out of the house and find somebody new. What's also interesting when it comes to objections, I think sometimes we have to remind ourselves that a lot of the times we run into difficulties, and I'm sure we're going to discuss this today. Adam, a lot of the objections people deal with and have trouble overcoming, it's like they're creating them themselves, and you could have preempted them from the very beginning. So I think part of objection training is kind of like dealing with it before it ever comes out as well, which is super important to understand.
Yeah, you're right. That's one. It's probably in here, but one that I always think about, like in my presentation, a lot of the questions that I ask are intentional. And the reasons that I ask them is to set it up where they can't come back with certain objections at the end. So by asking the right questions, getting them involved, it makes it a lot harder for them to come back. If I talk about affordability throughout the presentation, it's kind of hard for them to come back when I put some quotes together at the end and they tell me that they just can't afford it. We've already talked about affordability. We already know about what they can handle every month. So I think, yeah, you're right. I think a lot of it can be handled just by kind of working through some of the objections that could arise even before they arise, by asking the right questions and getting the people involved throughout the presentation.
Exactly.
So I'm going to go ahead and get us started here. First objection. I'm really busy. I can't give you a time. Give me your card and I'll call you to set something up. So this would be an objection. I think one of our agents sent this to me. They went to the door and that was how it went down. They couldn't get in the house. I'm really busy. I can't give you a time. Just give me your card and I'll give you a call to set something up. How many times, Chris, have you given somebody your business card if you ran into a scenario like this? How many times have you ever gotten a call back?
None, because I don't give out my business card unless they've bought something. Like that's not how that works. This isn't a 16 call close. You're not trying to write a $400 million annuity. You're not selling property. Like this is a one call McDonald's kind of close. And more importantly, like when we're talking about the mindset of an objection and overcoming objections, they're not actually busy. Like they are not busy. And as soon as you start believing the BS that they're selling you, they're going to sell you right out of the business. They are not busy.
I mean, how many times have you shown up to a house and the person tells you how busy they are and the TV's on and they're in their pajamas?
They're not busy.
No, they're not busy. Oh, I'm just about ready to get ready for work. It really looks like it. Um,
Hold on. You sounded like a failed final expense agent there for a second. I'm getting ready to get ready for the day.
yeah, yeah, or even like doctor's appointments. I mean, when I'm sitting with somebody and we're going through things, some of the company applications, I have to ask them, like, when was the last time you went to the doctor? Usually
Hmm.
it's like, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. They don't go to the doctor every single day. And sometimes it seems like you go to the door and right away, oh, nope, I don't have time. I got a doctor's appointment. Yep, got another one tomorrow, and then 3 next week. More than likely, that's just same thing. Talking about
Yeah.
objections, that's just like another excuse. It's like you've always said, there's things that people will say that have worked before on other people. So they just assume that it's going to work the next time the next guy shows up at the house.
Hmm.
So, and these are the things we're going to be talking about today that are going to help you agents out there to not be that next guy that gets pushed off the porch. So, so yeah, when that objection comes up, I'm really busy. I can't give you time. Give me your card and I'll call you back. Um, I mean, I usually don't give them my card. If anything, I'll say, you know what, I'm really busy too. I had a few minutes in between my next appointment. This is not going to take long. Give me 5 minutes and then I'll be out of your hair. You're not going to have to worry about me bothering you anymore. And and that's usually it. And if they're serious about wanting to sit down, they'll give me those 5 minutes. And if they're not, well, sometimes you just got to move on. What do you think, Chris?
I think as I try to get the link out to a few more folks to catch us on YouTube or whatever tube you're watching us on today, is I think it's important that we understand that what we're saying, in my least favorite view, is just a little bit of something to push back on the resistance they're pushing you on. And it's really kind of a rope battling match for a moment here. All right, they say they're busy. You know that they're not busy. And then you just push back a little bit. And then you get into the house. They're not used to agents being skilled and prepared to say something back to them. They're used to just being able to blow people off. And as soon as that you just don't leave, then you're able to get into the home and give the presentation. So I think not getting into an objection battle with them, but just giving them a little resistance in return makes a big difference.
Yeah, another thing I'm thinking about too, how a lot of young guys that I've gotten going in the business, not even young people, just new people to the business. Sometimes they don't understand going in that there is going to be sort of some brushback when you go to the door. Like it's not going to be like you're not always going to be welcomed with open arms. I mean, I would say probably more times than not, you got to fight to get in the house.
Hmm.
But that's just what you got to learn. You got to do what you can. You got to, when you're spending money on leads, you got to do whatever you can to get in front of that person. If that means that you got to learn the stuff we're going to be talking about today that you don't know yet, I'm telling you, this is stuff that has worked for years that, very valuable stuff that I think a lot of agents can learn a lot from, because this is important. I mean, if you can't get in the house or even over the phone, same thing, there's objections over the phone too, but we want to do what we can to get the most out of our leads. And that's by learning these different ways to overcome the objections. Let's see, what's the next one we have here? Can you come back? Okay, kind of similar to the last one. Can you come back? Well, why? I'm already here. I'm here now. Same thing. Like I said, let's just get this done now. If they tell me something like, I don't know. I know I've said this before. Like I can usually tell, like if they're serious, like maybe they got their keys in their hand and their shoes on and like their coats on and like they actually are like 1 foot out the door. Well, then yeah, I get it. Sure. Maybe they got to go pick up their grandkids at school or something. I always try for the same day. Well, when are you going to be getting back? Well, I'll be back in a couple hours. Okay, I'll see you then.
Hmm.
Uh, you don't want to push out too far. Like, don't set up an appointment for tomorrow. You know they're going to be home in 2 hours, so you're already going to be out that way. Get back out there the same day while it's fresh in their mind. You're going to have a much better chance of catching them. You could go back and you could set up an appointment the next day and have the same sort of outcome that you had the first time that you showed up at the house,
Oh,
where
yeah.
they're just going to try to brush you off and 1 foot out the door. So I think that, try to get in the house while you're there. you can kind of be the judge, I think, just kind of based off of what you see. Like, there's got to be a good reason if you got to come back. If not, I mean, let's just get it done right then and there.
There's no reason to come back. Like, there really isn't, because you should have so many people to see. You do not have the time to come back. Like, you should have so many leads. And I don't care if the leads are from Friday or from a decade ago. You should be too busy to ever come back, because they're not busy in the first place. In second place, if you make an appointment for my favorite, Adam, oh, I was at a few doors today and I made an appointment for Thursday and I also have one for Saturday. What? No, you don't. You just got sold on why they didn't want to talk to you and how they aren't going to be there the next time. Your job isn't to be making preset appointments at the door. That's an appointment setter's job to be made over the phone. If you are face to face with a person, that's your turn. That's your time. And at worst, like you said, I could agree. Yeah, maybe I'll try back later this evening, but I don't even make it sound that specific. Okay, no big deal. I'll try back another time. I don't want to give away any more than I need to at the door, but I want to turn every opportunity at the door into a presentation.
Yeah, I think sometimes agents too, they go to the door. They don't want to be too straight. I don't know, not really straightforward. They don't want to push too hard because they're afraid of that person just telling them, never mind, don't come back. But really, in the end, if they're not that interested, they're just going to blow you off anyways. So I think you need to be a little bit more forward, and you need to push a little bit harder, and you need to tell them, I can't come back. Like, they sent me out. This is like a one-time visit. I know you sent this in for a reason. Let's just get it done now. And if they tell you no, never mind, then tell them to quit filling the things out and move on
and throw it out. Like,
yeah,
I think sometimes in this business, when we're talking about objections and we're talking about one call close and we're talking about getting in the door, we have to have that mindset that we either got in and gave the presentation or threw out the lead. This isn't a follow-up kind of business. And when you start poisoning yourself with this belief that you're going to follow up and come back and see them later, all that it's doing is slowing down the train that should be you throughout the course of a 10-hour workday. Trains don't go backwards, Adam. Once they start for the day, they go in that direction. And then eventually tomorrow they go back, but there's no backwards. And I think that's an important thought you got to have in your head.
Yeah, you got to be the one kind of taking on the lead. You got to be aggressive, I think would be a good way to put it, and yeah, do whatever you can and get in that house. The chances of you ever seeing that person ever again are pretty slim. So once you're there and once you make that face-to-face contact with them, yeah, you got to push what you can to get in the house. And if they brush you off and they try to, set up an appointment for a later date, they're setting up a time in their schedule to make sure they're not home 9 times out of 10.
Literally.
Yeah. Yeah. Make sure to go to the store at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Because this guy is going to be coming by my house. So, all right, let's see what else we got here. I don't remember filling anything out. Well, we have policies for people who have been diagnosed with dementia. Oh, I'm just kidding. I don't remember filling anything out. I mean, I always have the card in my hand, like I'm showing it to them. It's in their handwriting. If anything, I'll ask them, is this in your handwriting? Because I mean, if somebody else filled this out for you about death, like I'd be kind of concerned. So let's just get this done and talk about it now. It'll take 5 minutes.
I think realistically, sometimes people want to get confrontational at the door because years of objection training has led people to think, if I get confrontational, I'm going to get in the house because it sounds cool on stage to be like that. Well, here's my comeback. Here's your comeback. Here's my comeback. I mean, realistically, how many times have you filled out some type of advertising and didn't remember then you did it? You know that you did it. They know that they did it. They're playing stupid. They're playing dumb to you, just like I'll play dumb back to them when they say dumb things in the presentation. Oh, I'm going to mail in my payment. Huh? You're who? You're going to what? Like, they're just playing dumb because it worked the last time. They know what they filled out. They know when they filled it out. And unless they filled it out at 1 a.m. on Facebook because they had too much medicine overnight, most of the time they remember doing it. So don't fall for that trap.
Yep.
Blow it up, brush it off. That's okay, Adam. This is actually the form you filled out. You actually signed your name. But I'm sure it does look a little familiar to you, but no big deal. I got to go over it. You qualified. Just takes a few minutes. I think part of the issue people have in overcoming objections, Adam, is they fall into the trap and think, I got to overcome this like it was the most serious thing that was ever said to me. Like, lightly brush it over and continue on with the conversation.
Yeah, but like we said, we're not the first person that's shown up at their house. And more than likely, we're not the first person that's shown up with a lead, talking about what we're there to talk to them about. So again, like we've said, I mean, it's the things that people say to you are the same things that they've said to the last guy that worked. We just got to figure out ways to work past that. And heck, I mean, we got so much experience. I mean, I'm 21 years. I know you're close to 10 years in the business. I mean, we've been there. We've done that. We still go out there and do it. So we know what works. We know what doesn't. And that's, I think where a lot of agents are definitely going to benefit from what we're talking about today. Why didn't you call first before just showing up?
Oh, we did.
Yeah,
we did. You just didn't answer, and which totally normal. But since you qualified for the information, and since I was able to help the last person save like thousands of dollars, I just want to make sure you get that same opportunity. Address it, brush it off, continue forward.
I mean, that's an easy one these days, honestly, because I mean, when I'm in a home with somebody, the seniors, probably everybody, they're just getting bombarded with phone calls. People selling them this or that, or medical diabetes equipment, supplies, just all this different stuff. One call after another. I mean, I'm not just saying this all the time. I'm in a house and people's phones are just ringing off the hook. So it's real easy to just say, well, we did call. We did call. We tried getting a hold of you, but I just know people don't answer their phones. And I know that you sent this in for a reason. I just figured while I was out here, I'd try catching you so we could go through the information that you wanted to learn more about. Let's get it done. Not that difficult. Let's see. I was just wondering what this is about. This is the one that I use what you always say, Chris. Well, that's why I'm here.
It's actually exactly.
That's actually why I'm here, because you were wondering what this was about. Whether you wanted to, there's no obligation or anything, but they send me out because you sent this in requesting information, and it's my job to just kind of go through the benefits that you may qualify for. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes. Can I come in? And
I think sometimes people misunderstand objections because we talk about objection training, but sometimes the stuff that the consumer is saying is actually either a buying question or they're expressing interest in a way that you're not understanding. I just want to know what it was about. Perfect. They're literally just said to you, I actually wanted to buy insurance and I'm prepared to buy insurance. I just wasn't expecting you to show up today to sell it to me. We got to readjust our mindset and realize some of the things they're saying are good. And you just need to continue forward in the conversation.
Exactly. I mean, if they're wondering what it's about, yeah, to me, that's a good thing. I hope they are. I mean, that's why I'm here, to explain exactly what it is about. And then we have, what we got next here? How much longer is this going to take? I've got to go. I mean, you've ever sat with people, Chris, where, they're acting like they're like in a big hurry, and like they're trying to get you to just push through your presentation. Do you buy in? Do you do like a 30 to 50 second commercial version of your presentation? Because they're in a big rush they got really somewhere important to go.
They're in a real hurry. Like, this is a dead serious hurry. I mean, I've heard it said before, and you can pretend to say it. Oh, I'll give you the short version. But give them the whole thing. Don't shorten anything. It's all very important. You can tell them it's the short version. They don't know any different. But they're not busy. They are not busy. And if they say that kind of stuff to you, just continue forward with the conversation. Or I'll try this one. It really isn't going to take, it will only take as much time as the questions that you have for me, but I'm not going to take any more time than I need to. I've got like 9-10 people to see today, every hour, on the hour, throughout this area. So I don't have a lot of time to share. Don't worry about it.
I had one a few weeks ago. The guy, I don't know. I was there at like 3 something. He told me he had to get to work at 4 o'clock. And this guy, he like delivered pizzas or something. He had to go deliver pizzas at night. And it was like 3:55, and he's like, I really got to go. I really got to go. And I'm still finishing up the application. Like, I'm not going to go back to get this thing done. Like, we're going to finish it right now. He's like, well, I got to go. I got to go. I'm like, look we're going to get this done. If you're late and you get in trouble, like, give me your boss's phone number and have him, and you can call me and I'll give him a call, and, we'll talk about it, because, this is important. I don't think you're going to get in trouble if you're 5 minutes late. Let's just get it done. And he said, okay. And I never heard back from him. So I guess he didn't get in trouble. And yeah, it was fine. So, maybe sometimes people are in a hurry. Like I said, most of the time they're not, though. Most of the time they're just, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like people, this is something that's like they know they need. They just keep pushing it off. They procrastinate on it. They don't like thinking about it. They don't like talking about it. And it takes someone like us to just kind of slow them down a little bit. Just say, you know what, let's just get this done now. And then you don't have to worry about it anymore. And then we can move on with, move on with your day, move on with your life.
I think some of these people just need to be led, like in an ethical and appropriate and a professional manner. They want to be led. They were not decision makers their whole life. They were doers. They were told what to do at work when they worked. They just want to be led in the direction they need to be in. And you need to lead them in that direction. And they're going to give you a little bit of resistance like you're talking about. But you have to understand the mindset of the person you're sitting in front of and help them get where they're going,
And again, kind of like the same thing, just staying in control and remembering that if I don't get this done right now, there's a good chance I'm never going to see this person ever again. And that's the mindset that I have from the second I get out of my car and I walk up to their door until I either walk out with a sale or, get rejected and move on to the next. Because follow up is really not much of a thing. Follow up, maybe you'll feel good about it. Like, man, that was a great presentation. Boy, they were really interested. Boy, I can't wait to call them in 3 weeks and get this done. They forgot you ever lived the second you walked out the door. And that's something I think a lot of people just need to have in the back of their minds. Like, if you don't get it done right then and there, they forgot you ever lived, and it's never going to happen, because maybe 5 to 10% of the time you might actually get something out of it. But majority of the time you're going to have to move on, and you got to look at that as a sale that you didn't make.
So much of the sales process is an emotional thing that's taking place in that moment. And as soon as you pop that bubble or you exit that experience, trying to rekindle it later, it's just not going to be the same. That's part of why they can't buy a second time, because you're creating the urgency, you're building the value, you're inspiring action, you're going over things that have happened in their life that have led you to this moment. And then what happens?
Yeah.
And then what, like, you can't do it a second time. It's really not the same thing. Can you ever go back on a first date with somebody again? No. First impressions, first presentations. Like, there's so many reasons why the second time doesn't work. And that's why learning to overcome the objections will help you move that only opportunity into action.
Yeah, it's like, you rose them all the way up to here, and you needed to get to like the top floor, and you just didn't quite get there. But then the elevator's going all the way back down to the basement, after you left. And like you said, the second time around, it's like you're not going to be able to get them back up to, majority of the time, you're never even going to get back. Majority of the time, you're not even going to get back. The second like I said, the second you walked out of that door, the elevator went back down to the bottom, and it's never going back up. Maybe for the next guy that shows up, but probably not for yourself. So then we have, let's see, what's the next one here? Oh, I didn't know this was about death. I don't want to talk about death. Well, who does? It's not a fun topic to talk about. And I think that's the problem. I'll tell them, that's the problem. Nobody likes talking about this, but it's something that needs to be talked about. If you don't talk about it, you're going to put your family in a real tough situation when that time comes. So, let's just talk about it now, get it over with, let your family know that you put something in place for them, and and then you don't got to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, they want to talk about it. That's why they filled out a lead to talk about it and made an appointment to talk about it and have let you into their home to talk about it. They're throwing haymakers out there at this point, trying to delay the inevitable. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they know they're buyers too. Like a lot of times, if you've gotten into this part of the conversation, they know they're going to buy if you get to that point of the presentation. These are like their last ditch attempts to slow down the inevitable.
Oh yeah, and I think 9 times out of 10, it's just all about the money. At the end of the day, and they'll throw all the other stuff out there, and at the end, it's really just about the money, and you just got to figure out ways to put together some affordable options to help them to be able to move forward. Uh, I already have my insurance taken care of. How you handle that one, Chris?
That's okay. This isn't actually, Adam, the buy more program. This is to see if you qualify for any of the new benefits, new discounts, or new opportunities that were available here in Will County, Illinois.
Yeah, I like that. You know, I like that. That's good. Again, just whatever it takes to get in the door. I already have insurance. That's great.
I know you do.
I
That's
hope
actually
that
why
you
I'm here.
do. Yeah, that's why I'm here. I'm glad that you do. And I'm always just trying to make what we're doing different. Make the insurance even different than what they already have. Um, Usually, that objection comes up for me like at some point in the presentation. Usually, it doesn't come up at the door. Usually, like at some point throughout the presentation, maybe. Oh, that's what this is about. This is about insurance. Oh, I already have plenty of insurance. So then that's where I just try to make it different, or maybe figure out what they have, and just kind of go from there.
But
I talk
see,
a lot about the value propositions and all that stuff too. But yeah, what were you gonna say, Chris?
the danger zone here, though, is when people say that to the agent at the door, they forget that they had that insurance when they filled out the lead. They already did. Like, unless they bought it yesterday, they already had insurance when they filled out your direct mail card, your internet ad, your Facebook ad, whatever it was. They already had it. The danger zone is some agents at this moment in time are going to get into the situation where they're like, oh, who's it with? How much are you
Mm-hmm.
paying? What kind is it? Why did you get it? Why don't it's irrelevant. Like, unless you're in the discovery phase of the presentation at step like 6 of the presentation, what they have is irrelevant. Don't fall into that trap that they're
Yep.
laying for you that's worked before.
Yep. Oh, exactly. And I mean, heck, I wrote one last week. The lady, she already had, I don't know, 25, 30,000 in coverage. She was 80 years old. I wrote her another 5 grand. Um, because I was able to sell the value, of just the different product offering and just the different things. And you make it, if people see value in something, they're going to buy it,
Mhm.
regardless of whether they already have another policy or not. They saw the value and they decided, yeah, it would be worth buying another 5,000 in coverage, even at 80 years old. So you just got to show some value in what you're doing. And I talk a lot about that Everest. I use that a lot lately in those scenarios when people have coverage. And I mean, maybe that's one that I'll do a training on either next week or the week after. Just talking a little bit about adding value, and showing ways of adding value that are going to kind of separate what you can offer your clients from anything else that more than likely that they already have. Because that's something that I like about the Everest. I mean, heck, if they already have plenty of life insurance, great. Well, this is a plan that's going to pretty much handle your entire funeral. Your family's going to have to make one phone call and then show up at the funeral. So that's what I like to do, is just kind of add that value when I can. They tell me they already have insurance. Great. This is a little bit different. I've already prepaid for my funeral.
Okay. Well, they prepaid before they filled out the lead too. Like this
Yeah.
this is the same trap that they're laying for you. Something happened that led you into that conversation, that's led you to this moment. Just don't make a big deal about it. Like, okay, well, let's discuss some of the other final expenses that you're going to encounter, or final gifting, or a final gift left behind to somebody else. So what?
Yeah. There's so many. There's so
Like
many just other things. And what are the chances that they actually did prepay for their entire funeral? The funeral home, also the cemetery. Uh,
I
Yeah,
can
I
hear you loud and
always
clear.
yeah, I can hear me. I think other people can hear us.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, guy
someone just
would check your
commented
device.
no sound,
Yeah.
but you might need to turn your speakers up or on, or I don't know. But yeah, anyways, yeah, the chances that they've actually prepaid for everything are pretty slim. Um, I've even thrown it out there. Well, a lot of these funeral homes have gone bankrupt. They've gone out of business. What happens at that point? Is your funeral still going to be paid for if the funeral home's no longer there? The cemetery. There's so many different expenses too, like we said, that could come up. It's not just the funeral home. Um, Very seldom do I run into a case where they took care of everything. So break it down a little bit. Yeah, figure out there's got to still be a need there. And I was just gonna say I got some marketing material I got like last week that even kind of breaks down all of the different expenses that could arise. Just different things that people don't even think about. Um, and that another useful tool. Yeah, I'll see if I can find that.
Yeah, I think it's also important to recognize, like, we got a couple questions that came in, which are all
Yeah.
men with.
Uh-oh, now I don't hear you, Chris. Up. I think you muted yourself.
Home, give the presentation. I don't care how old they are, how expensive it is, how many people are there. If I'm in the home, I'm giving the presentation. I was talking to Jamie over the weekend. We drove by a client's house here in Cecil County, and I mentioned I had sold the lady down the street there a $200 a month policy because she was 80 or 82 and had COPD, and it was very expensive, but they needed the insurance and they wanted the insurance, and I wasn't going to judge them on the price or the age or their health. I'm going to show the options. Like, when value exceeds price, whatever that price is, people are going to purchase it. And in our heads and on our calculators, we think, why would they do that? Our why isn't important. It's their why that we're there talking about.
Yep. Um, let's see. I'll move on to the next. You need to fix your mic too, Chris. You went you're no longer using. I can't hear you through your mic. It sounds like it's coming through your computer. On the settings, you might just need to switch it back.
Mhm. I got you.
Let's see here. Next, we have all this flipping around here. Let's see. Oh, nope, not that one. Here we go. This is a good one. So, Chris, I know you're the one that can really handle this one as soon as we get you back on here. The whole I'm donating my body to science. I know you always have that one down pretty good.
Are you
Um,
now? Are you actually donating your body to science, Adam? I mean, you talk about this quite frequently.
yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think I'm going to be donating my body to science.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure
'Cause
why I'm about to donate my microphone to science if it doesn't work.
I think in the
But
settings, Chris, yeah. Anyways, yeah, under the
yeah.
settings, I think when it switched off or whatever. But yeah,
Mhm.
anyways,
Yeah, so donating your body to science, they actually have to have signed up for a program. And I will challenge them on it. I'll politely say, "That's awesome. That's a generous and a very open thing to do. Can I see the membership card to whatever program you signed up for?" And then they don't have one because they're just making this up in the first place. Or the sadder one is when they get organ donation confused with body donation. I'm an organ donor. Okay, well, that's before you're dead. That's a different thing. No big deal.
hmm
Continue with the presentation. Or if they are actually signed up for body donation and they actually are signed up for the program and they show you their card, you have to explain to them, well, there are certain circumstances where they cannot accept you for donation. Are you
yep,
familiar with them? And then they're going to say they're not familiar with them. Then you're going to go over with them the fact that if they die, a certain distance from home, they're not going to transport you back in enough time to be able to accept you. If you die of a contagious or infectious disease that they can't manage, they're not going to put you in with the rest of the bodies. It's not going to happen. If it's an unwitnessed death that has to be investigated by the police and all that, back and forth, not going to be able to make it. If it's unwitnessed and you start to decompose, like, they're not going to be able to accept a mildly decomposed you. Unfortunately, I mean, it happens. Look at the apartment building you live in. How many times has a neighbor died? They didn't notice till the next day. It happens. Maybe your family says no, like they rip up the card and refuse to do it. Like that's an opportunity. Like there's so many different maybe you're too big. Hon, I'm sorry to say it. So there is the limitations on how they can accept certain people. I mean, you just got to be real to them and do the research and look and realize that there are certain circumstances where they cannot accept. Maybe they don't have any room for you. Maybe they have 20 people that all died last week and you're the 21st and there's only 20 coolers. There's a lot of situations where this may not work. So, Adam, why don't we set up a backup plan just in case? And if they do accept you, this will be a nice extra gift to leave behind to the family.
There you go. Yeah. I don't, man, I can't remember the last time someone even said that to me. I mean, it's been a long time since I've heard that I'm going to donate my body to science sort of thing. But yeah, it's kind of the same thing. It's good to kind of have that in the back pocket. I'm going to put together everything we're talking about today too into like a training marketing material that agents are going to be able to download on my website. So as soon as
I
that's
mean, I do
ready,
have
I'll
it come
shoot
up
that out too.
occasionally.
Hey, there it is. Now you sound good.
Yeah, I have it come up occasionally, but also I think the power in being a well-rounded agent is if you really hit a stone wall into final expense, pivot into another product for God's sake. Okay, well, what are you doing for your cancer coverage? What's that? I don't have that. There you go. Like eventually a well-rounded agent needs to be able to do other things. What do you have for your grandkids? We don't have anything for them. Like your job is to get something done in the home, even if it's a $10 accident policy that covers the cost of the lead. And take the least path of resistance at some point to write business. Don't think if I can't overcome this objection, that's the end of my show. That's how I look at it too.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, just lots of different unique ones that we run into that it's good to kind of learn them and know them. And I think that, like I said, I'm going to put together a marketing material, or not really marketing, but like a training document that agents will be able to download it. It's in the process. I've been working on that for a few weeks with a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, that way, people can hear us talk about it, but then they can also go and they can just have that. So it's in their back pocket, almost like you could pull up like the PDF document, and heck, you get that objection, you could pull it up on your iPad and be like, oh, there's the script. Let me see if this works. But yeah, it's good to learn it before you get in a home, take it and learn it and study it, and watch the stuff when we broadcast it, listen to it on the podcast, or go back and watch it on YouTube. I mean, the more you watch this stuff, the more you listen to it, the better you're going to get. I mean, that's what I did when I first started. I mean, all I did was listen to content and watch different content that I knew would make me better.
Yeah, you also have to do it though. Like you have to learn what to say and then actually say it when it comes up. Once you've seen 100 presentations and all the variables you could possibly encounter, then you're going to get comfortable responding to it. But you could only watch and listen to us deal with it so many times. Eventually, you're going to have to do it yourself, overcome it, realize what didn't work, put it in your own words, be yourself. Like I made the mistake of trying to copy someone word for word and tonality for tonality, and it wasn't me, and it seemed off. Like all the objection training we can give you, we're not going to be able to get into your body and say it like you're saying it. Like you have to be you, and you have to go out there and do it yourself, get beat up, get knocked down, overcome it, have the door slammed in your face, get kicked off the property, and then get better. That's a huge, this is just the 40% of it. The agent has to do the next 60% themselves.
I was out to lunch yesterday with somebody, and we're just looking at the menu. What are you going to order? And the guy's like, I'm just going to have like a plain cheeseburger. And he's just like, man, I don't know, like the situation I'm just in. I'm so depressed. Like I don't have any money and this and that. And I'm just thinking, like, do something about it. Like, do something about it, hold yourself
Get
accountable.
up.
Like it's, just so much of this, not even in our industry, but just all over the place. People just the whole, oh, poor me attitudes. And it's like, all you got to do is like, go out and do something. You can put yourself in a much better situation if you put your mind to it. You got to take some risks. Um, I mean, heck, I mean, I wouldn't be as successful as I've been in the business had I not been willing to take risks. You got to be willing to just get out there and work and do what you can. And heck, if you got kids, if you got responsibilities out there, I mean, heck, there's no perfect job out there. I wish I could say I love every single part of everything I do every single day. Um, yeah, I love what I do. I don't love all of it, but I do it because I have to. Heck, when you got kids, you got responsibilities. Put yourself in situations that you're going to succeed and that you're going to win. But so much just these days, I'm like accountability issues. Like people feel like they're owed something, and I don't think we're owed anything. We got to go out there and do it for ourselves.
Yeah, I think sometimes we have to be willing to do something we don't want to do and be okay saying that. Like, I don't want to do this thing. I talked about it on our morning call. Now, who really wants to go out and work on a Friday? Most people don't, and it's okay to admit that. But then you have to take it to the next level and be willing to do something you don't want to do. I don't ever want to go to the gym at 5:30. Never. I've never woken up and said, this is awesome. I can't wait. Let's do it. No, I don't want to, but I want the results that come from doing that thing. So if you want to make money in this business, you have to be willing to do things you really, I don't want to do it, but you have to.
Well, Chris, you need to put on you need to make your alarm clock like a better sound or something to get you all pumped up like some Rocky music.
Dun, 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 dun,
Get you jumping up out of bed. The next one we have here is I'm a vet. Nobody's going to have to pay for my funeral.
Okay. Are you a Purple Heart or service connected disability? Like, that's pretty. I'm glad. I'm honored that you served, but to what capacity? Oh, you were in for 2 years and then you. Oh, okay, that's different. Like, there are certain situations where someone's funeral is going to be covered at higher levels. Do the research on it on like va.gov and figure that out. But realistically, that's not a thing. Here's the best way you can overcome that one. Adam, I appreciate your service, and that's an awesome thing that you did. But really how this works, and if you call the VA cemetery, and I've done it before to show people, is they'll tell you this. Your service has paid for your spot here, but you have to get there. So, yeah, you got a place to be buried. You got a marker. You got a vault. But the rest is on us to figure out through coverage how to pay for it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's, by me, too. We have, like, the National Cemetery that's, I don't know, 20 minutes away from me. So a lot of veterans, that's their plan, is just to be buried at the National Cemetery over there. And sometimes I do run into that where they say, yeah, well, being that I'm a veteran, my funeral is already taken care of. I'm going to be buried out at the National Cemetery, and so is my wife. And like what you said, I always say, well, thank you. Really appreciate your service and what you've done for our country. But I mean, just so you're aware, your burial will be taken care of at the National Cemetery. So that's great. That's actually going to save your family quite a bit of money. But there's still funeral home expenses. There's still, and I have a list like on my presentation that shows like the funeral home expenses, and it shows a breakdown of the burial expenses. So I'll like go back to that page and I'll show them. I'll say, see all these expenses here. Well, that's still something that your family's going to be held accountable for. The basic service fee at the funeral home, the cosmetology, all the preparation of the body, the casket, the service fees, obituaries made, like just all that stuff, like that's still going to be an expense there. So we want to make sure that there's money for that. And then there might even be something afterwards, like a repass or, like a luncheon afterwards.
Or the rent to your apartment the next month.
Like that too.
What's your wife going to do? Like, let's move on to, the other parts of now that you're dead, now that you're buried, however that was handled. Now what?
Oh, yeah, I talk about that a lot too.
That one. Yeah.
What's going to happen to your income? Your wife, if your wife outlives you, I mean, well, she still has to live. And with that income going down, the Social Security getting cut in half, well, you're going to want to make sure that she's able to live just as comfortably after you're gone as she is now. So, yeah, I bring that up a lot too. It's not just for funeral expenses. We want to make sure that the people that are left behind are going to be able to continue to move forward and and live the same life they were living prior to you not being here anymore. And then we have, let's see, how many more we got here? I thought this was free. Wouldn't that be nice?
Come on. They know that it's not free. Why are you falling for that one? Like, why? They're older than you most of the time, hopefully. They've had insurance, bought it, lapsed it probably 4 times in the past. This just really works on most agents, and they know it. Like, they know this is a good one because most agents aren't trained, aren't prepared, haven't put in the time and the effort. They're going to go out and work one day of the week. And as soon as they get some level of resistance, they're going to give up. And then the worst is when agents think it has something to do with the lead card. Well, the lead card made it sound like it was a free government benefit. It literally doesn't matter. They fill out the same leads, the same objections, the same comments. It doesn't matter what the marketing piece said. They're just saying this because it works on you. And I think as soon as we recognize that and adjust our mindset properly, and we know that it's not free, and they know that it's not free. Adam, if your kids told you the sky was purple and it was raining unicorns, would you engage them in a conversation about this, or would you tell them that doesn't make any sense?
I tell them it doesn't make any sense.
And keep going. Like, they know it's not free.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, these days I always just say, are you kidding me? Like, the cost of everything. Like, do you think the government's giving anything away for free? Like, no, it's not happening.
Not how this works.
And no, I mean, it's the information's free. You know, it's a state approved plan, and it's my job to just kind of find you the best available options. It takes about 10 minutes. Can I come in? So same thing. Yeah, every once in a while I'll run into that. Oh, I just thought this was something free. Yeah, no, you didn't. It all looks good, but I don't have any money, and I don't know when I'll have any extra.
Mm-hmm. That's good. We don't collect any money today. This isn't going to get set up again until I don't know, looks like September. I don't even know, maybe October. That's no big deal. Go ahead and grab your information. We'll keep this we'll get this taken care of.
Well, I got this car that I'm going to be it's going to be paid off in like 3 months. So, I'll have more money then. How about you just come back in 3 months and then we can get this started?
Okay, that does make sense. But what we can do is pick out a smaller plan in the meantime. And then in 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months, maybe next year doing annual reviews will increase your coverage. But the reality is we got to get something in place because, Adam, right now you don't have any insurance, right?
No, I don't.
Okay. And if you died without insurance, like we talked about 20 minutes ago, what would happen in that situation?
Yeah. Yeah. My family be in a tough spot.
Okay. So what would work affordability wise until the car's paid off? Ballpark. What do you think would work?
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know if anything would work. What do you got for me?
I mean, if I found a plan for you, a starter plan that was like $1 a day, maybe $20 to $30 per month, just to get a starter plan in place, would that make sense? Not to screw your family over and put that in place?
Maybe, but I mean, I'm already spending like $10 a day on cigarettes.
Okay. I mean, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and I can't, not going to belabor the point. But let's at least, I'll at least try to close them on a smaller option. And I want quality business. Like, I'm not going to waste my time, get dressed, go out to work, buy the leads, set the appointments, give the presentation, only to do all that work and it charges back because they weren't serious enough about it. Right? There has to become a fine line where I'm not going to be smokescreened to death and I'll leave at some point.
Yeah. I mean, I think you got to make a big deal out of the person's health too, whether it's good or bad. Sometimes, you get people in maybe like their 50s, early 50s, even filling out lead cards where that need to them probably isn't as big as someone who's older, who maybe has some health issues. That it's like, I always tell people, you don't want to get to the point where you have health issues and then decide that you want to do something like this. Like, it's a lot easier to do when you're younger and when your health is good, and our health can change very quickly. So yeah, I always kind of throw that out there too. Like, we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring us. Let's get this done right now. God forbid anything were to happen with your health anytime soon, but at least you know that you have something. And right now, at least you know that you can get it and you can be covered today. I've actually seen it happen. And I've told people this, like, I've had leads that told me to call them back in 2 weeks, and 2 weeks later, they're in the hospital because they had a stroke. I mean, I've had people call me wondering if their family member took out a policy with me because they found my business card on the table and they were dead. And they didn't. So I'll bring that up to people. Like, you don't want to be that person. You don't want your family calling me because they found my card and you never did anything about it. So I just think that you need to create a little bit of urgency to get that person to move forward right then and there. Like you said too, even you got to start them a little bit less to start. At least you have something. At least we know we can get you covered with something. And even if something were to happen to you sometime soon, at least your family would know that you at least try to do something for them. You don't want to be remembered as the person that did nothing for your family and put them in a real tough spot when you passed away.
Yeah, I like the phrase starter plan, but I've also tried minimum coverage plan. Like Adam, it's kind of like the liability only for cars, but for you, like if we put a minimum coverage plan in place that's maybe 1,500, 2,000, 2,500, we know that it isn't enough, but it's enough to at least cover direct cremation in case that's all that we have. I mean, does that sound like a reasonable option to do? And be real with them, be honest with them. Like, you're not trying to hoodwink someone into buying or guilt them into purchasing, but be realistic with them, because most agents aren't willing to push into this uncomfortable spot and call them on their bullcrap. Like, anybody on earth could write 3 applications a week if they went out and worked a 5-day week. Do you agree with that one, right? Anybody.
Oh, yeah.
But to be able to write that extra 2 and 3 applications that really improves your income and your volume, it's moving these people off of where they're sitting at and getting them uncomfortable. And maybe you write a $25 application. Maybe that's all that you get. But the next year when you come back, you add more. I mean, I wrote a policy once in a home, Adam, for $17 a month. It was a paper application that required a phone interview. It probably wasn't worth the time it took to do it. But that $17 a month application not only is still on the books today, but it opened up opportunities because she referred me to her entire family afterwards. So I don't think we should shy away from writing smaller business just to plant our flag in the home and put some type of minimum coverage in place if the objection is actually about the money, which typically, it might come down to.
Yeah, I'd say 9 times out of 10, that's usually what it's about. It's just about the money and just figuring out a way to make it affordable for them. Everything sounds good, but I just got to think about it. I don't do anything on the first visit. I got to sit down. I got to pray on it. I got to think about it. And then I'll get back to you. So you're just going to pack up your stuff, Chris, and say, okay, sounds good. Just I'll wait to hear from you.
Let's schedule a follow-up. I'll give you my card and we'll put you on the calendar for next week. Come on with that one. Realistically, the best way I like to overcome many objections is just to re-ask the question to them and look mildly dumbfounded that they just said something really dumb at this point of the conversation. Because at this point of the conversation, you've been in their home probably 35, 40 minutes. You've built rapport. You've shown them your license. They trust you. You've shown them a picture of your family. You've gone over options. You've preempted most of the issues that would stop the conversation. And now they're saying something stupid to you. Okay. It's going to be like this. Well, interesting. What? Okay. Adam, let me make sure I understood that one correctly. What you're telling me is you need to think about it. Can you tell me what that means again? And really what you're asking them is to tell me what really is the problem. Because when you re-ask the question to them, then they get to hear how dumb it sounded out loud. And then they'll tell you what the actual problem is, which is typically they didn't understand you, they don't trust you or like you, or they're having trouble with the money part of it. They don't need to think about it. Realistically, final expense is an emotional purchase. There is no logical aspect to think about here. None. Like, it probably doesn't make logical sense for them to purchase it, but not a single thing in their life have they ever done logically. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting here. Like, let's think about who we're talking to at this point. They haven't thought out a single part of their life. And I respect them and I love them and I'll serve them in this business, but this is not a logical person you're sitting with. This is an emotional purchase. So remind yourself of that when they say something that is the antithesis of who they are.
Yeah. And, like I said, I mean, sometimes it's just, I just got to think about it. What do you got to think about? Well, like I said, they'll tell me, well, I don't do anything on the first visit. I just got got to take a look. You got some materials you can leave me. I'd like to maybe read it over a little
Oh,
bit.
read it over. Yeah, you're funny. What do you get? Read
Yeah,
anything
that
over? You haven't
brochure
opened your.
went from their hand to the trash can like the second after you walked out the door.
They haven't read. Oh, they need an illustration. Can you print them an illustration?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, come on.
So, but same thing. Like we said, these are things that probably worked on the last guy. Probably working on, okay, fine. Well, I told that last guy I needed to think about it, and that got him to leave. So I think that so much we talk about, so much of this is about the money. And maybe they just don't want to tell you that they don't have any money right now. But I mean, a good portion of my clients, they're just living on Social Security. They get their deposit once a month. When that money's gone for the month, yeah, they're in a tough spot until they get paid again. So to me, I mean, just ask them, is it about the money? Because if it's about the money, like I don't need anything today. When do you get paid? Oh, I get paid like, I don't know, on one of those Wednesdays, like the second Wednesday, I think. Okay, great. Well, then we set this up for the second Wednesday and you'll be covered as of that day. Who's your beneficiary going to be? Just move on, move forward. But yeah, I don't know. I think you really need to assume the sale going in and just kind of, like I said earlier, you got to just have that mindset that that's why you're there to do business. You're not there to just explain it and hope that they want to do something. You're there because they filled it out and your job is to get it done. Like I said, I think too many people are afraid to push too hard because they're afraid that the person's going to tell them, no, don't come back. But what happens? Like I said, 9 times out of 10, you'll be nice and you'll leave their house and you're still never going to see them again. You should have pushed harder when you were there just to get it done.
They don't need nice. They need somebody who's like a serious professional and an ethical, not a hard closer mentality, but they don't need nice. Like nice has put them in this position because no one's been willing in our industry to have this conversation with them.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes, heck, if you got to move on, you got to move on. I don't do anything without talking to my daughter first. My daughter, she handles all of my business.
That's not.
And I know we've talked about this, Chris, how like both of us, our parents, my parents, they're in their late 60s. I don't think they've ever called me about a financial decision or any kind of business decision. Like they handle their business. I handle my business. I don't know. Is that weird? Like, are there other people out there whose parents really call their kids all the time for help when they're wanting to make financial decisions?
No, it's made up. It's made up most of the time, 9 times out of 10. And you either brush it off until it comes back again, like most smoke screens. And if it comes back again, then it's real, then you deal with it. But the first time you get it, you have to remind yourself they don't talk to it's not true. It's just made up crap. And if it does come up a second time, then you call them on it. Okay, that's perfectly fine, Adam. Let's do this. Let's get your daughter. What was her name again? Let's get her on the phone or FaceTime, whatever you're more comfortable with. I'll go over the program with her. I'll get her vote of approval, and we'll get this taken care of. Go ahead and get her on the phone while I get something out of my bag. And then if it's okay, well, it's no big deal. Then this probably isn't a good fit for you anyway. Like if this is actually their concern, they're actually going to call that person, and then you're going to review it with that person over the phone, and then you're going to get their go ahead, and they're going to go ahead with it. Because that's typically what happens in those situations. But if it's really made up and it's not true, then move on or challenge them on it. It doesn't really look like, does your daughter pay your rent here? She doesn't. Does she pay the light bill? No. Does she take you to get your medicines? No. I mean, it sounds like you handle all of these things on your own. Can you explain to me why this is different?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, because, and in the end, they're doing this for their kids, right? Like, do you think your daughter's going to be upset that you handled your funeral for her so she's not going to have to worry about coming up with $20,000 overnight? I mean, yeah.
She's going to tell you not to get insurance. She's not. Okay. Well, then I'll go over it with her once you get the policy. She has any questions, she can call me after. But unless she would tell you not to do this, well, she wouldn't want me to do this. Okay, perfect. See you later. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Yeah, that's sometimes I think we can over explain it. You just kind of need to be a little bit more straightforward and put them put them in their place with some of these things.
mhm.
Uh, I got to talk to my husband. He makes the financial decisions.
Oh my
And
God,
that's
where is
usually
he?
like,
Where'd he go?
I usually make sure that, I mean, if it's a husband and wife, I don't even want to do a presentation if I know that they're both involved. I'm
Mhm.
usually going to ask before we even go through things like, your husband, I see you put your spouse down on here. Was this something you were looking into for the both of you? And if they say yes, I'd say, well, he's got to be here too.
Mhm.
What's a better time? Because I'm not going to do a one legger when it gets to the end and, oh yeah, I got to talk to my husband. And uh, you know, if that's a true thing, then yeah, you're just wasting your time if you're talking to the one person and then you're going to have to try to go back to talk to both of them. Like, why waste your time?
Yeah, either you need to vet that out in the beginning of a face-to-face presentation. You should not be surprised at this point of the conversation that there's a decision maker that you're missing. In 1% of the situations, some people do make these decisions on their own, but it's highly unlikely and it's probably a waste of your time in a face-to-face situation. But you have to vet this out ahead of time. Like, I would rather have people that were living in the house come down and be part of the conversation, even if it's not a husband or a wife, because I don't want to leave and then some joker who was upstairs come downstairs and ruin the credibility of what we just talked about when I could have included them in the conversation, got them to understand it, or respectfully discredited their opinion because they the people that live with people, they kind of understand where they fall into that situation. So I'd rather have everybody at the kitchen table than present to somebody and miss an important influence in the house.
I was on mute. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. You really just need to figure that out at the beginning. If this is something they were looking into just for themselves or for anybody else, and if there's anybody else that's involved, they need to be there. There's no sense in going over with the one person when you're just going to have to go over it again. So, uh, I don't want anyone getting into my bank account for anything. And that's one I don't really run into it nearly as much as I used to. I feel like these days people are just so used to everything kind of going that way. But I just always tell them, like, this is your most important bill. You want to make sure that it's always paid. And if you were sick or something and you weren't able to pay it, well, then you end up losing everything that you put into it. So you just want to make sure that it's always paid. And it's very accurate. I'll kind of give them my I'll tell them, I'll give them like my own guarantee. Like, if we tried to take the payment and more came out than what we were supposed to take, I'll cover the fees. I'll usually tell them I'll double the fees. If they took $30 from me, I'll give you 60 because I'm that confident that that's not going to happen. And that's it. I mean,
Yeah.
usually, like I said, these days, I just very seldom is it even an issue. I can't remember. I bet maybe 6 months ago I left the house because they wouldn't let me do the business through the bank. It just doesn't happen that much anymore.
Yeah, I think I have two ways to handle this currently, and there's probably a bunch of different ways you could teach it. But sometimes I just say that's not how this works. We're not getting into your account, as you said,
Hmm.
sir. That's not how this works. We're not taking anything from you. We're setting it up the same way that you get paid is how this gets paid. Same concept. Or the other approach I'll commonly take nowadays, if somehow this comes up, is, well, let me explain to you something, Adam. When you were younger, we used to collect the money in person, right? Sit down at the kitchen table with your parents, grandparents, and collect money in person. Not a thing anymore. It's not safe for you. It's not safe for me. In fact, there's too many of you that need help and too few of me nowadays doing it. We can't do that. Second, you used to send it in the mail, right? After we stopped collecting it in person, you used to mail it in. There's nobody in an office anymore to take your payment out of an envelope, take the check you put in the envelope, and then take it to the bank. They just don't have that kind of staff for that anymore ever since COVID. It's not a thing. So how this works is this way. And if they're really going to give you that much of a resistance, they know they're bad business because they've already lapsed so many policies. They're saving you the heartache. Like if you give them a fair explanation and they trust you and they like you and they know they need it and they don't want it at that point, you just saved yourself a chargeback. This is how it works. You can't do it another way.
Yeah. I mean, do you really run into it that often anymore?
Once a month, maybe. I mean, when you see a lot of people, you run into these outliers every so often, but you just have to be honest with them. No, we don't offer that anymore. That's not an option. Can I make it like when they say, can I come out on the 7th of the month? No, it's not an option. They just need to be told that's not an option. If they want it, they'll continue forward some of the time too.
Sometimes I think if they're hesitant, they'll just tell me that they can't find their bank info. These days, I run into that more than I don't want you taking anything. Well, I don't even know where the information's at. Well, where do you do your banking? Oh, Bank Financial. Okay, that's like right down the street, right? Uh-huh. All right, well, let's go. I got time. Let's hop in the car right now and we'll go get your account info. Like if they're serious about it, they're going to come with me and we're going to get the bank information. We're going to get it done. I probably do that at least 2 or 3 times a month. Taking people to the bank to get their account info. If I have to do that, I'm willing to do it to make the sale. But yeah, so a lot of the times maybe it's just, that's their way of saying I'm just a little hesitant about the bank. I think that's an objection that the telesales people run into a lot more than the face-to-face.
Probably.
I think it's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like it's a lot easier to build that trust and rapport face-to-face than over the phone. And I mean, me personally, I had someone call me last week asking me about like taking out a loan. Like I don't really have any intentions to, but the guy was like, yeah, you submitted this or that. I'm like, no, I didn't. But anyways, like, yeah, they try to get in to ask you like personal information and all this other stuff. And I'm just thinking like, I don't even remember doing something like that. If I did, it probably was years ago. And I mean, I don't know who I'm talking to on the other side of the phone. Like I wouldn't give them my social or my banking information either. So yeah, I think that the telesales probably run into a little bit more than the face-to-face, but face-to-face, yeah, I don't really run into it a whole lot when it comes to people being hesitant about providing me with their banking info. It's just like they know these days if you want to conduct business. Honestly, I think most people prefer that way. It's just it's so much more convenient, especially with the draft days when you can just set it to coincide with the Social Security. That's the problem, I think, is when agents aren't setting it to coincide with the Social Security, and then they have issues with overdrafts and stuff if the money wasn't there when we tried to draft it. I think the agent just needs to do a better job of being sure to set those dates properly, and then people aren't going to have issues with it. You get paid on a client might say, take it out on the 15th of the month. And you just say, oh, okay. I never do that. If they say the 15th, I ask them, well, when do you get your deposit? Well, I get it on like, I don't know. It's usually like around the middle of the month is what they say. I say, oh, like probably like the second Wednesday. Yeah, I think it is on the second Wednesday. They have a Social Security calendar too now that you can get and you can look it up and you can see based on the person's like birthday and their name, the date that they're receiving their benefits. So, set those dates to coincide properly. But I know that's not the objection, but that's something that's gonna, I think, maybe make people less hesitant, because I'll have people tell me, well, I do it through the bank, but I did that before and they messed it up and I got hit with drafts and all this stuff. Yeah, because the guy didn't set it up right.
Yeah, or they messed it up.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we just got a couple more. I know we're a little bit over here, but that's all right. Oh no, that's it. Okay, so yeah, for more training, just check out like I said, my website, it's kind of under construction. I am working on putting together some training stuff. And actually, there's going to be a download section where you can download a lot of good content and materials. But you can check out my YouTube, youtube.com/C/Adam Brisson. Also, check out the podcast, Insurance Life and everything in between on the YouTube channel. Also, the Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and like all these other platforms. So, but thanks again. And here's my contact info too, for those that need to get a hold of me. Best way, really, info@adambersan.com. You could shoot me an email. You could send me a text, or even just go to adambersan.com and fill out an inquiry. And we're always looking to bring new agents on board. We got a lot of good things going. Me and Chris has the call every day, every Monday through Friday. We have a call every morning that is really good. It's really motivating, kind of gets people going for the day and their week. And I'm on it once or twice a week, usually talking about different things. And we have that, and then just all the other good content that we're providing you guys on a regular basis. It's just there to help you and get better. But if you're not with us and you want to become a part of what we got going, we got a lot of good things going. We'd be happy to set up a call with you. So thanks again. And thank you, Chris, for coming on. Appreciate your help as well. And I hope y'all have a great week, and I'll see you again, same time, same place next Monday. Thanks again.
Take care.